All right, hello everyone. Welcome to the December 12th, 2024 Rivermore Library Trustees meeting. Sam, is there any correspondence?
No.
Okay. Public comment. Andy, would you like to speak?
I'm Andy Curran, I used to work at the library, and I'm currently president of the Historical Society. And I've noticed something, which is that we have AP US history kids come in every year and do reports on an aspect of Littleton's history. And in order to do that, we have a lot of stuff at the Historical Society, but a lot of stuff is here, especially old, the Littleton Independence back issues. And the kids, my understanding of the historical room here is that people can use it to do research and stuff. And so the kids would need to come in. I say to them all the time, just because we don't have the newspapers at the Historical Society, I say, go to the library. Anytime they're open, you can go in there and you ask for the papers, you spread them out on the table and find what you want. And I mean, there's other stuff too, but primarily that. And then I started noticing that there were always people, not always, but a lot of times there were people in there. And I understand using the room as overflow for if there wasn't, if somebody got misscheduled or something. But I see like knitters in there and something anonymous in there, and it's just like no one can go in. No one else. I mean, it's not like a kid could, like an 11th grade boy is not going to go in there if there are a bunch of women knitting. He's not going to go in and look at newspapers, And then you know how kids are. They'll be like, oh, and then they won't go in again. And it happened to me the other day because I was picking up. I deliver books to people who can't get out, and I thought, oh, before I do my delivery, I'm going to grab this thing in the historical room that I needed to show somebody at the Historical Society. And I go in and it's full of people and I can't go in there. And so I thought, and it's happening to me now too. And it's not a meeting room. It's not a meeting room. It's part of the library, just like the science fiction section is. So you wouldn't have a meeting in the science fiction section, or if you did, it might be about science fiction, and then that would be okay. Anyway, so I know that part of the problem is that there aren't enough meeting rooms. However, that room, the Sturts room, is actually two rooms, A and B, and we don't usually divide it. And I talked to Sam about it a while ago, and he indicated that he thought it was a difficult thing to divide it. However, then I discovered that Jennifer has happily been dividing it all along, as has she does it for story time, and James divides it for rowdy YA Dungeons and Dragons people or something. It can be done, and it can be done quite easily. So I would like to propose that be open as two rooms, and then maybe people wouldn't, and the people not be scheduled. I understand that there's not enough meeting rooms in this town. And I'm hoping that when the center opens, there will be. But I asked Jean Sill, who's on that committee, and she said don't count on it, that they haven't said definitely whether they would. And then obviously they should, but I understand it's a problem in town, but I would like the historical room to be a part of the library, historical room, not a meeting room. And also on the subject of people meeting, down here, there's some dance group that meets on Sundays. And when I was working at the book sale on the Sunday of the sale, there was women in here practicing their dance because they normally meet in that room, but they couldn't because the book sale was in there. And there was some men and a bunch of boys running around out there. And they were playing soccer. The boys were kicking balls and they were bouncing all over the walls, and there's artwork. And I finally went over to the boys and I said, excuse me, you should be taking the ball outside because that's where you play soccer. And I said, if you damage one of these pieces of art, I said, your fathers are gonna have to pay for it. And then the fathers sort of, paid attention and told the boys to settle down. But it's like, we happen to be here. If we weren't here, I don't know if this is like not the same thing, but it is something that happens. Anyway, I just wanted people to be aware that this happens when we're not here.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you.
The way this works is that we can't respond to you right now.
Okay. We can't respond to it.
Right.
Do you have any questions or
It feels like a big problem.
are you allowed to do that? Ask questions?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, I think.
Yeah, we can open a discussion and I mean, Sam, I know you guys have a chat, so you have a perspective on this, but I was thinking about, so I met with Andy or something, and to talk about this issue, and then I was starting to try to figure out what in our meeting packets and the information we have available to try to get my hands around the frequency with which the room is being used for the historical room is being used for meetings that are not. I appreciate your position and the understanding of the historical room being a section of the library. It just happens to be behind closed doors to protect the material that's in it.
right.
So that was actually a really important section of this. Then I went to our policy and it actually says in our policy that the room is supposed to be open to the public during regular library hours, which means if a group is in there using the library, it can't be used for that purpose. So we are using it as overflow meeting space and it doesn't, we've said it one way in the meeting room policy and another way in the historical room policy. And so I do think we as a group should, and then I go to the meeting room report and we have when groups are using the room, but I don't know how big those groups are, so I can't see how.
They're pretty big.
Some of the groups are big and some of them aren't, and it's a mixture as it is likely to be. I can totally understand that there are groups that so all of this I see cannot be resolved at this one meeting. I'm not asking it to be resolved. And I do think getting our handle around the impact here in the library and the meetings pressure for meetings here in the library will inform a conversation wider with the town and other departments for use of meeting rooms space in town generally.
Yeah.
Especially as the senior center is getting it.
So I think I can, I think I'm allowed to. So as for going backwards, the kids, that's already been addressed. So the kids that were playing football and messing around, that's already been addressed.
Okay, good.
As far as the room being divided, first of all, that's 2 library staff doing it. That's not,
Jennifer does it herself.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. 2 library staff are taking it on themselves to divide the rooms
right.
on their own because Jennifer doesn't want the kids to wander around, so she needs to look smaller. Same thing with James, basically, he's making the room smaller and he's trying to limit the amount of noise. Scheduling the rooms in Assabet, it's much harder to do that for the general public.
If they do it from home.
Right. That's a harder thing to do. We're trying to address it, but it's just a harder thing to do in Assabet. Because if the system if you book it as like search room A, then it thinks search room A and B are also booked or not. So someone can go in.
It's 3 options, not.
Right, it's 3 options. So someone can go in and book it as A, but then they'll also book AB, so then we have 2 people booking it. So that's
Is there anything you could put a note in it that says?
no,
Ask staff?
that's an Assabet thing. So
Okay,
Yeah.
so there's.
Yeah.
I absolutely see the struggles from the library staff side on this piece.
and then as far as the history room being used, we just have a lot of people who need the room.
Yeah,
And I understand that. I think from your perspective that patrons are not being allowed to use it, but I've never heard of a patron.
There hasn't been a patron.
Yeah, other than what you, than you, it's, and, I don't know how else to address it. I mean, rooms it's unnecessary to be used.
and I
It
can
does
see
seem
from
like
your.
it does seem like an issue of kids who are not able to get in there to do their projects. And it makes sense to me possibly
People
that,
for genealogy
or genealogy, it does make sense to me that the historical society might hear about that more, than you would.
Well, I would think they would come to the desk and
Yeah.
ask
An
us.
11th grade
Yep.
boy, yeah,
Okay,
you think?
Yes, actually. It is.
so I can see from your room use report that that room is reserved fewer times
Mhm.
than the other rooms. So I know you're
Oh,
not
absolutely.
using it.
Right,
We're not
we
using
tried
it
not
as a
to.
priority room. Yeah,
Right.
you're doing what we hoped is
Right.
it's a last resort, not a first choice. So that's in line with what we've asked.
Is it on Aspet? I can't remember.
It
Yes.
is.
What if we took it off of Aspet? And people had to call it reserve it.
It's not listed as a study
can't
room
reserve
in the
it.
meeting room policy.
Because it's not a meeting.
It's not
room.
a-
Right, and then in the historical room policy, it says all patrons are encouraged to visit the Houghton Historical Room to perform historical and genealogical research. It does say the room is open to the public. Patrons wanting to use the room must check in with the librarian to be granted access. And then, yeah,
So we're not listing it as a meeting room, but
No.
we're using it as.
And if somebody just uses it to study, say some kid's doing math in there or something, that leaves the whole rest of the table for someone else to use. It's the specific.
And in that case, it's like using a table in the middle of a
Yeah,
section.
I mean, it's specifically that I'm thinking that people are meeting there and they're sitting in all the chairs, and in fact, there's like 4 extra chairs in there now, so that indicates that in addition to the chairs that are there, more people actually go in there too. I mean, probably.
That was me who put in those chairs the other day, because we had friends moving in, we needed to use the extra chairs.
And it's not,
So,
it's
yeah,
not on
so,
Aspet.
I mean, it's.
You're right, so it already
It's
isn't
not
on
an aspect.
Aspet.
We're not
So,
listing it
yeah.
as a meeting room.
So
Yeah.
we're taking away as a service. I mean, are we taking away as a service as a,
Well,
or taking away as a service as a means?
I do want to say, I don't think we should make a decision right now.
I'm
I
not
think
saying
this
we
is
make a decision, I'm
definitely-
just saying that it's,
I would propose that we maybe walk through investigating the staff side, the service side, and we go through the policy again and just make sure we're being consistent. And then stepping back from that and looking at a broader picture of this building is so widely used for meetings, to a point where we can't serve the town the way alone. And we need other departments and town to be aware that there's still a need for meeting rooms beyond what the library could provide. And that's a townwide discussion. That's not just this board discussion. So finding the data that we need in order to have that discussion might be useful.
I mean, I think the library is better than any other group in town as far as offering meeting space. I mean,
It's this and the fire station are frequently used.
fire station is too.
All right, so we can talk about this so we can't make any decisions now, and we shouldn't, because we don't have all the information, from we need to look at our policies and usage and everything like that. So, thank you.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah, and we will move on and we will put it as an agenda item for another meeting, and talk about it and do some research, so.
Okay.
All right, thanks, Andy.
thank you.
Yeah.
thanks, Sandy. Thanks, Sandy.
Okay, let's go on to minutes of prior meetings. Has everyone had a chance to look at the minutes from the November 21st, 2024 meeting? Any questions, comments? Okay,
Sarah's going to move and Stephanie's going to sit back.
great.
Ah,
I move to approve the minutes from it was from
November 21st,
November 21st and the policy committee meeting on November 19th, 2024.
26th.
November 26th?
It says 26 on the agenda, is that not right?
Okay, well, she wrote 19th, so yeah. So she didn't,
It's on the 26th.
do I need to re-say it?
I didn't ask, because I never have a chance to look at the policy committee minutes. Does anyone have any questions or thoughts about? No, okay, now you can go ahead. Yes, please, say that.
I move that we approve the minutes from the November 21st, 2024 and the policy committee meeting minutes from November 26th, 2024.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. All right, treasurer's report.
All right, MMDT is $19,302.14. State aid is $32,441.17. Building gift is $29,757.08. Gift is $31,078.65. The Barth has a month ending balance of $1,724,938.42. We have $686,044 in the MBLC grant, and the lead is $116,895. It's a lot. We have some money.
Thank you. All right. Does anyone have any questions about the treasurer's report?
Does this gift value reflect the gift that was just given? That's why I went up.
Where does that go into? What did that go into?
Is that into the trust or into the gift?
To the gift.
Gift. Does that go up and down based on the stock price?
The gift account,
The Barth does,
the birthday,
not the gift.
I was thinking of a different thing.
The gift is like the savings account, basically.
gift account.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's.
It's like a
It's
balance line.
Yes.
Later. Okay, friends report.
The holiday bazaar this past weekend was a success. They sold crafts, ornaments, used books, and Sarah said the total was approximately 1,000. She didn't have the exact number yet, but around that ballpark. So everybody was pleased with that. And then there's been an email discussion of what to do with old and rare books that they get donated that do not have ISBN numbers. The ones with ISBN numbers, they have somebody who will sell those online. But Susan Harvey she looked them up and thought that one of them might be worth something a little bit. And then Wayne was discussing creating a display in a future month because he does a theme each month in the book room. And so having an old or rare book could be a theme for an upcoming month. And since their meeting last month was before ours, there's nothing else to report.
All right. Thank you. Any questions about the friends report? There were 2 books that I thought about buying and one of them was gone an hour later.
Yeah,
Holiday bazaar. It's true.
they did say they sold it. There were a lot that we packed up, but they said there were a lot more at the beginning. So they did sell quite a few.
That's good.
They were hard pushing, they were down 4 for $1 by the end. So
I like that they were wrapping books for people.
mhm.
I think it was
The blind.
Yeah. I like they were doing.
Oh
an
yeah,
ad.
those were all
going.
gone too by the
This is
time
going,
I
yeah.
got there. So they were gonna do more.
Yeah.
They said next year, and there was some giraffe.
The draft thing.
Those were all gone by the time I got there too. So there were
Totally missed the drafts.
Yeah.
Tracy O'Neill got one. See if you want to see
Okay.
it. Because it said that if you want to try it, you should ask somebody. I was like, I don't want to know that badly. But then Tracy got one. I was like, what does it do? So yeah. All right, building updates.
So last time I mentioned that we wanted to remove the doors, the sliding doors in the storage room. So I spoke to Eric and George, and they said they could probably do it. They're gonna have to, because the doors are so heavy, they're gonna need help. So he's gonna talk to the highway department, see if they can help them take the doors down and figure out a place to store them to. So Eric is working on it, but he's busy with a lot of other things right now, and I told him it wasn't a huge priority at the moment, so he's gonna be working on it. Other than that, there's nothing really.
Okay. Mike, your report.
I attended UVLC Tech Services user group this morning, attend on Zoom. So that was fun. And then I had mentioned last time that we finished the biographies. Now Asco and I have moved on to fixing up the audiobook section. And that's sort of our probably be our project for the next foreseeable future. That's it.
Any questions for Mike?
When you say you're fixing up the audiobook section, what does that mean?
So it's messy. There's I don't know if they used to be separated out by subjects, like mystery and science fiction and fantasy and stuff, but they're all intermixed and labeled improperly. And we have all the YA audiobooks are mixed in adult audiobooks. Megan doesn't want them back, so we're gonna relabel all of them to match the adults rather than, saying YA on it.
Are you gonna have a separate section for YA?
Yeah.
Are you planning on?
No, they're all gonna be, where they are now, just labeled properly and labeled consistently, basically.
Sam,
Julie, Mike and I also interviewed for the vacant library assistant position. We interviewed 6 candidates and we did choose somebody. I found out today she accepted, Carla Whitaker. She lives in Littleton.
She lives on my street.
Yeah, she's accepted, and so I submitted the paperwork to HR, and hopefully mid-January she'll start. So yeah, but we had a lot of great candidates, and we both thought Carla was the deciding push.
Does that mean you're fully staffed?
The bullet, yes.
Is that Carla with a K?
Yeah, Karla. Library is closed for Veterans Day, closed at 4 on November 27th, then closed November 28th and 29th for Thanksgiving. All benefited staff received a bonus holiday as the town also closed the day. The new library assistant, Abby Kehane, started on November 25th. And the town staff engagement committee had a Thanksgiving door decoration contest. So Tracy decorated the upstairs. You might have seen the turkey, the different things. And then they basically Megan and Diane and Jennifer all decorated the children's room. Fortunately, we did not win, but
who won?
I think there were a few different winners. There were different categories. IT won because they did like this whole 3D thing that was
Okay, how much
amazing.
like electronics did they?
Electronic. It was amazing. It was
3D,
good.
I like it.
I forget-
So they put the pictures of all the doors anywhere, so people to see.
I think it's in the newsletter.
All right.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm pretty sure.
yeah. I did get it. I just haven't read it yet.
Whether I did not notice, I think I skipped it.
All right, well, I'm gonna go look at the.
Pretty sure it's in there. And then just update on my goals. As you know, I have completed the emergency management plan. It's been distributed to the staff. I plan to go over it in more depth at the next staff meeting, but I'll start to look at it. I've already learned about grammar errors that I made. I set a monthly schedule with Mark that I've been doing for the past few months, and the Google Doc has been updated. I presented my annual budget for professional development to all of you. And so far we have used for the staff funds for some of the funds for our staff lunch. Jeff went to a conference in Maine a couple of months ago, and I'm going to the conference in Phoenix in January.
Is that ALA?
It's one of the ALAs. It's a ALA Live Learn X. So it's more of a learning conference than a conference. So there's like, everybody's gonna be divided into groups, and depending on which area you go to. So I can't remember now there are a lot of different topics. There are like a lot of different topics, actually. So I haven't decided which ones I'm going to yet, but yeah, there's pretty much one every day.
Will you come back and tell us?
Sure.
Before we learned, did Jeff share with you what he learned at his conference?
He did, and he sent it to me, and I forgot to. I'll let you guys know this.
Okay, thank you.
We've added 4 new databases, so you already know about Comics Plus. I also just got the link today for another database called Educate Station, which is a database for primarily for at-home parents. It has a lot of lesson plans and like activities that you can go and basically download for, I think, grades K through 12.
What's it called?
Educate Station. Yeah. I haven't put the link up yet. I just got it today. We also got I'm waiting for the links for Fold3 and newspapers.com. Fold3 is sort of like Ancestry, but it has military records. So you can go in there and get military records for going back pretty much to the beginning. And
What's the beginning?
beginning of the US.
Okay.
And newspapers.com also has access to hundreds of newspapers across the country. So patrons can use that to access not only previous newspaper articles, but obituaries and that sort of thing. So genealogy groups, that would be big for them. And I thought Educate Station would be big for the stay-at-home moms or dads.
Homeschooling families.
Homeschooling families. And, I already had, anticipated getting new databases, so that money is gonna come out of, the town money for most teachers, trees for other databases as well. And, I'm working on making a marketing for survey for patrons. So any
Once you
questions?
have the links for these databases, how do you plan to let patrons know they exist?
The normal way I would do it would be Facebook and, putting it on the website, putting it on, TV screens, put it on the newsletter, putting it and sending it out to LCTV. Um, and, and
Is there a way to specifically let groups, like,
Oh, yeah, there's
genealogy
a-
group,
yeah,
the
there's
whole
a
school of
genealogy
families
that
come
meets
in?
here, every month, so I can let them know. And, Diane has already said once it goes, that goes out, she knows all the homeschool parents and she'll.
Great. Wonderful.
Yep.
Can you, for the marketing survey, when you have it kind of ready to go, can we take a look at it?
Sure.
And because we'll probably want to talk about how you want to get that out to the people also.
Sure.
Yeah.
Any questions?
It looks like budget wise, you're on target, no? For this time of year.
Any more, I'm guessing no, but nothing yet from the select board or finance departments about those additional positions we were looking for?
No, so Ryan's supposed to be working on a budget that he'll send out.
Yeah.
I did notice in this. So this is payroll for staff. I didn't add this, they added this. So they added a new, this is supposed to be the new senior librarian position I asked for, they added that. This is the new teen librarian position I asked for, they added that. This is the extra hours for Diana asked for, they added that.
Yeah.
And then these two are for, I think I mentioned a few months ago that there's gonna be a ghost step. So Susan and Diane are greater than, so that would be their ghost step. So they added this all in, this is the vacant library system, that's why.
Yeah.
But, so they added it in.
Okay, so we can be.
So
I'm
that's a
wondering if
good-
they're using it as they try to budget and
Yeah.
play
maybe.
all the cards
Yeah.
across all the departments.
Yeah, so at first, this was the only thing that was in there. And then I know they finished talking to all the department heads, and after the day after they finished, that's when they had press.
I mean, I love that it's in there because that means they're
Yeah.
at least going to consider it.
It was considered.
Is there anything we can do to support and help with this, just advocate for these?
I mean, really, I already spoke to, Ryan, as I said in the somewhere, they're gonna have two meetings, January 21st and 28th. Keeps putting me on the 21st meeting. I'm probably gonna be first, usually I'm first.
I want you out of it.
It's here in the library and so they figured, so it's at 6:30. So I already spoke to Ryan and he said that he would put me on the 21st because the 28th is the night I come back. I'll be back at 8, so I don't want to rush here. I'm sure the meeting will still be going on at 8. But
Well, in case of snow or whatever, it doesn't make sense for you to.
yeah.
I'm planning on being there on my calendar. So.
Okay. Yeah, so I'll present, I'll talk about what I sent you guys in my report.
And that you had already written up
Yeah,
the,
written up and everything.
why this is important to the library. So having that, will they have you do a presentation on them?
Yeah, they'll have a PowerPoint presentation that Ryan can send out. They have a specific format they like, so it's the one I've used for the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
But I think most of the just
And this is finance and select board just
joint committee.
listening and asking questions right now.
And when is that?
January 1st at 6:30.
I see you added ebook and audio circulation. Thank you to the staff.
Yeah, they're already in there, actually.
Sure.
They were there.
Yeah,
Then why were we?
I don't know. We just kind of made it more obvious.
Yeah, I think it definitely,
I see them now.
you see them, so it's there.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions for Sam? Thank you. That was a really helpful update. Okay, moving on to old business. Sam, we asked you to check with other libraries and see how they may have used their lead money. Do you have any feedback on that?
Other than solar panels and paying down the debt, that's pretty much what they all do. I tried contacting, like I think I've told you all this before, a lot of library directors kind of funds after they do their projects, so a lot of, when I contact another library that's been through this, they use the director, so that's how I do it. But the ones I contacted Bolton and, basically they said they used to pay down the debt. Yeah, the other libraries I contacted, they all said they either paid down the debt or got like solar panels or something. I also contacted MBLC and asked them if they knew what other libraries do, and they said the same thing. It's either solar panels or pay down the debt.
Wait, don't you wish there were more creative options? Other safe options,
Well,
yeah.
I mean, if you're really, it's actually really limiting what they
Yeah.
allow you to do, so I can absolutely understand why that was left
Okay.
as the two options that most libraries end up doing.
So I think we talked about these at our last meeting. Those are the two things we came up with as well. I know you weren't here for that. Do you have any thoughts on?
I mean, I'm assuming based on all of the work we had to do for the original solar panels, that it becomes a RFP process that so even to start it, we have to use some of that money to do that. And then it comes down to how many panels can we actually add, and I think, or inverters or whatever they are in there are maxed out, if I remember correctly. Brian might be able to tell us if there's room for more panels on it or not.
Maybe, I asked them.
I mean, it's one of those questions, like if we have room in our current setup, we could investigate how much adding a few more panels, but I think we're at the point where we're not gonna get that many more panels.
Yeah,
So is the benefit there?
yeah. When do we need to vote on this?
We still use the 686,000.
I mean, I know they would like us to have a decision so they know where to put it, especially as they're finalizing the budget for next year, is my assumption.
Yeah.
So we are also asking for budget positions, so
Should we do a little straw poll here about how people feel about under using it to bring the debt down? I'm good with it.
I mean, I think we've spent X amount of money for the town to say,
Yeah.
we got some back and we're giving it back
Yeah.
to take more debt off.
Yeah.
Especially in balancing, we're saying
Agreed.
we'd like another position, so like, I know it's not apples and apples here, but like,
Yeah.
there's some good blood and hopefully some
Yeah, I like it.
return on the staffing side of things if we can continue some goodwill.
All right, are we comfortable with voting on that tonight, Ben? Yeah, and if so, I don't know exactly how to say it, vote to transfer to use the 175 blah, 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 to pay down the debt.
It's 116,895.
I have it.
What did we say for the 600 something? Well, it's the same thing, but for,
I don't know what that motion was.
yeah. When was that? Minutes?
How about we try, and if we get it wrong, we
Okay,
redo it. And I had the email up and
who would like to make that motion?
Did Chris projection?
She did not. This was not part of her.
I move we transfer the lead money, the $116,895.
Say that again. Yes, please.
116,895. For what's the debt reduction
Like to the town,
to the
transfer it to the town for the purposes of library building debt reduction?
I mean, the town already had that.
they already have
Right.
it.
So yeah,
Or
We
sure.
approve the use of the lead money
Yeah.
for debt reduction
Of the
on the library.
That was okay. Do you have it?
Yeah, you can say it.
Okay.
You can read back my motion and I'll say it again if it's helpful.
It's gonna wait to,
All right, Ms. Hagberg moved to use $116,895 in lead money for the purposes of debt reduction.
prove the use of.
Approve the use of.
So moved as read. And amended.
Say it one more time.
I second that.
All in favor?
Uh,
Great, thank you.
Usually for the library.
Yeah,
Right,
for the libraries,
library.
it should be at the end, because there are other projects that We cannot apply it to any other project in town. It has to be for the library. So the town has like $800,000 for debt reduction now. That's
pretty good.
The additional MBLC grant payment and the lead money,
Yeah. Good.
which, given we know these are tough years coming right now. It's good.
Okay. We talked at the last meeting about having a library board retreat. Sam, was there feedback on days? Was there like a,
So people have been slowly
okay,
giving me the dates, but I don't think I've done anything for anybody.
okay. I know Mayor's not.
I am abstaining.
You're
from
abstaining.
voting.
Yes.
I did one. I'm like at the top.
And just did it, you remember, so.
Yes, the email thing, yeah.
So Stephanie said Sarah submitted to Kimberly and Katrina. Nothing from Chris. Do you know what Chris is coming to?
I think,
And we can
I
base
think
it
she
on.
likes, and I think we can do it based on the four of us.
Okay.
And then hopefully she can make it.
Also, she doesn't, I don't know if she's, like, whenever I email her anything, I send it to her Gmail
I do
and her
also both,
trustee.
yeah, did you,
Okay.
yeah, that might have been.
So it, I
We
mean,
can
it
just
doesn't,
forward it to her Gmail just in case, but let's look at what four of us
All
do.
right. So far, let me just put it up.
Well, let's narrow it down, at least we can give her more
Yeah.
specific dates.
Mhm.
Yeah,
All right. So
is there anything that all,
looks like March 1st,
So farmer church.
or March
March
22nd?
22nd.
maybe we offer Chris those 2 dates and.
Yeah, I would narrow down what we
Yeah.
mentioned to Kristen, maybe come back, report back by email. You can choose by email.
Mhm.
It's like March 1st and 22nd.
Okay.
Yeah, two.
All right, I'll send those to her, that's good.
Okay,
Do we have a sense of time?
If it's the first, I have to be in Boston by 5, so I'm thinking morning into early afternoon. Yeah,
Yeah, I put 9 to 1 on the.
Yeah.
On the.
Okay.
But whatever.
Yeah.
Works for you.
I just wanna put it on my calendar, so maybe
Yeah.
I'll book something else.
that's a good point.
I'm
Right,
sure
yeah,
they'll be
yeah.
accomplished, right? But
Okay,
I appreciate not choosing mini golf weekend.
I don't even know, that's the next one, that's right. Copy back to that, okay. So next, I know we talked about this a little bit last time as well, but just kind of to, get a better sense of, if we have a retreat, then what the topics, should be that we talk about. We had talked about kind of starting to brainstorm about the strategic plan. There's also trustee recruitment. Which we mentioned 2 things today, we were testing. One of them was about the about the governance group that's coming together in the town to decide whether
Yeah,
whether or not trustees across the board should be elected or appointed. So that's something else we can talk about, because they're probably gonna come to us at some point.
we should come up with a process.
Yeah.
Pull it, like research and pull together.
Yeah.
Sooner, I think sooner than that, but that maybe a discussion at a retreat.
Yeah.
Informed.
Yeah.
Yeah, our strategic plan. Stay there on the same show.
Okay, and, does anyone else have any kind of thoughts? This is kind of an opportunity to have some big conversations about things that we don't get to talk about, at these meetings. Any other kind of things that are percolating?
So I know the last time we did it, we took a step back because there's so many new people
Yeah.
and newer people on the board. We were talking more about what skill sets we have on the board, where we are lacking confidence or skills.
Yep,
And that might actually inform the conversation about how to recruit
agree. I have a lot of notes of that
Advertise.
from our, the thing that we went to, about what to look for trustees.
Yeah, what skills we might benefit from having
Yeah.
on the board.
Yeah.
I mean, with an elected position, you would end up with whoever elected, so, but just broadening our net to make sure that we're looking for.
Yeah.
Interest, patrons or people who would wanna sit on this board, who have skills that we could fill a need for.
And super umbrella on the campaign trail, the only questions that came up that were asked of me had to do with AI and like censorship. And these are just, I don't have a more specific way to suggest them, but that's like, either people were genuinely interested and they had come to candidates night and were asking, or as I was getting my signatures, that's all that came up through, just those, I can't think of anything else that had been said, and that could have just been like, this is one thing I know about libraries, I'm making a polite conversation, but a lot of questions about AI and.
And both of those are very hot topics right now,
Yeah.
so it makes sense that they were bringing it up. I'm not sure how, I mean, censorship, clearly we have a role in, and our policies have been designed to,
Yeah, I think those are pretty good.
to support the librarian's position on developing our collection and maintaining our collection and meeting our space and all the other things. I'm not sure how our trustee policy making position, do we need to take a stance on AI?
I don't think so, but I'm wondering what they were wondering about.
Yeah,
So I mean, it was like, how do you feel about
I
it?
mean, I guess,
Oh, okay.
yeah, if you feel about it, okay.
Yeah, or like, will there still be libraries? So I wonder if
That's their question.
Like, why is the library important? Do you think this will still be a thing? And we all do think it will still be a thing, but anyway, those are just
That's
my
yeah.
words from this.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. We did talk a little bit about at the, I'd have to go back to my notes on it, but it's a conference we went to about really understanding who the community is and trying to identify like who they are and how you can, what they need. Which I know is what the librarians are doing every single day, but as trustees too, that's something that we could have a conversation about. If there's any points that we're not hitting, for the community.
Especially as we're going into the strategic plan piece,
Yeah.
like making sure that we're actively getting information from groups we're not typically
Yeah.
seeing or talking to all the time. Librarians will have a grip on that, but there are probably even groups who don't engage but might benefit if they knew more
Yeah.
about the library.
Yeah, I mean, they had such great ideas and then not all of them would apply to us, but in terms of what they were offering to very specific groups of people. And another thing that I thought about when we were thinking about this after the meeting conference was, like why the library is important to us informs how we can talk about the library to other people. And that might be different for all of us, but it'd be kind of like a good conversation to have too. Talk that up.
I mean, I think that's a perfect thing for. I mean, there's the retreat and then we can also
Yeah.
bring it to public meeting. I don't think it should only live in a retreat situation.
Yeah. Okay, so the last time there was a retreat, Wendy was here and I think, I don't know if it's just, if both of you were.
Monday, you know.
Yeah, but there were all sorts of really good kind of hands-on activities that facilitated the conversation. That's not my skill set. Does anyone feel like they're like, hey, I've led meetings before and I've led conversations like this before and I know how to make this, interesting for people. Anyone feel like that's in their skill set?
I guess my question is, before someone says that, is
Yeah.
which things here, I think this is too much of a list.
Let's just
Or
take
me.
off strategic plan because that's, we'll do that later.
Okay.
But we could talk about things that will get us to that eventually. So I had trustee recruitment, the governance, community and wise. Does that sound like too much?
We can get through it. We barely got through what we had before, 4 hours, so. But I do think these kind of overlap, so.
Yeah. Okay, well, it's not till March, so we can figure out details of that later.
I do think by January, we need to have a plan.
Yeah, okay. Great. Okay,
Because it took Wendy and I time to create it,
yeah.
and February is a short. So.
Oh,
Where is it? At the library?
with the library, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
I mean, we're gonna end up having to do these discussions about the strategic plan separately anyway. 'cause it's
Right.
just part of the
And we'll
process.
bring in someone for that, because that seems overwhelming.
I'm not even overwhelming, I think, in terms of, it feels overwhelming because none of us have walked through the process.
It's a lot, but
It's not really up to trustees to do it, it's up to.
It's up to Sam.
So
Right.
don't feel overwhelmed.
Okay. Do you know that MPLC has well, a person who will voluntarily help with all that? Okay, great.
Done this twice already.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. But how more names are on it if it's like your job?
Because we have to sign off on it.
Okay.
I mean, my name is on it before I get elected,
You know,
so someone explain that to me.
Maybe Chris do.
Yeah,
It's new.
I am happy to help Dennis, but I'm not gonna be able to come up with the ideas of the creative ways to talk about these things, like.
Well, I think Tim makes a good point, like, it should be director led and then we.
I don't mean
can-
strategic plan, I mean.
Oh,
retreat
the retreat
things, yeah.
once we narrow down the topics, then it'll be easier to say, oh, I can,
Right now, we're pretty broad.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sam, is there anything you see from your position that it would be helpful for us to discuss in a retreat setting?
No, I mean, it's the trustee retreat, so it's whatever you guys want to talk about. I'm good.
Okay. So if we can all maybe brainstorm under these topics a little bit to be more specific before our next meeting. If you could email them out for me.
Yeah.
After the meeting.
You did. Okay. Moving on, FY 26 budget update.
We just.
That was, yeah, okay. New business, library policies.
So we drafted a trustees code of conduct. And we took this. We took this from MBLC, right? Stephanie, where did this come from?
That was the bulk.
Or the ALA?
Yeah.
It was the ALA,
I think this one was ALA,
yes.
and we looked for overlap.
Wait, the trustee ethics statement came from ALA?
Yes,
And is this the one that the town
yes,
requested that each board
yes,
draft their own ethics statement?
yes.
Does this ethics statement align with what they had, they shared theirs as an example? Did we go?
They shared their board of selectmen, the select board, and it was very. I mean, select board is such a different group than we are, so that's
Yes.
why we looked at ALA, because this is more in keeping with what we do, and select board is so.
No, this one felt more tailored
Right,
to the library setting specifically
right.
and the board responsibilities.
So I think in spirit, it's in line with what we saw from the select board, but there wasn't enough that we could borrow from that or try to emulate it.
Mhm.
My only question is the very last bullet. Not question or like. And my only concern about this is in our current environment in the world and knowing that some of our other policies are really trying to align with the ALA's Library Bill of Rights, freedom to view, freedom to read, and are very careful about not trying to take makes partisan statements to avoid viewpoint discrimination. Like this is the only one that I'm wondering if we could reword it to be affirmative of our Library Bill of Rights, our support of the Library Bill of Rights, freedom to view and freedom to read, and our staff's efforts to acquire and manage our collections under those policies. So what I kind of took a stab at writing it on my own here, but so in my head, as I was thinking through it, I wrote down and we can discuss how to do it, but trustees affirm the ALA's Library Bill of Rights, freedom to view and freedom to read policy statements, which I pulled from our collection development. That came right from our other policy, and support the efforts of librarians to acquire and manage the library's collections in line with library policies.
That sounds good to me.
Can you type?
Who wants to type?
We'll type it in.
I can type it. Yours name's different than mine.
Do I use my keyboard?
Maybe, actually.
Did anyone else have any comments? Well, she's taking on it.
I think it was good.
I think this is the one that Sam had no notes on about patron.
Right, Sam did review these before this meeting too, so you sent it to Sam before we sent it to the group.
Thank you for doing this.
Something like that. If anyone wants sports movie.
Yeah, I would just throw shall, keep it consistent with the other ones, just use shall up from. Or take it, we can take it out, I think.
I think I had it in my notes, but didn't type it. I did. Thanks for mentioning that. And ALAs probably should be spelled out now that I took it to that group.
Well, should be answered now.
It's a,
Is it there? Is it theirs?
We'll look it up.
I mean, I could say, is it the American ALA's policy statements or just the ALA policy statements?
No, they are affirming, so it's not theirs. So you can just say Albert Bill Guards too.
What?
We don't have to say LA, but they have the statements, which are.
Oh, I see the word libraries. There's that. Good. Sam, do you know if what's the title for the person that runs the town?
Town administrator.
Yeah, thank you. Does the town administrator want to review this before we approve it? Or the select board want it? Or it's all internal when we get to do it?
I think we get to control our board's policies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't even heard. They want it.
So was it in May there's a thing. Well, okay. All right, well, good then. Is there a motion to approve this?
I move to approve the public library trustee ethics statement and code of conduct.
Before should it be called the public library trustee or the Reuben Horror Library?
I think we're
trustee?
in our library.
Who's signing it?
It's probably
We
me.
individually have to sign it, don't we?
Oh,
I think
I think the
We probably
select
all
board
have to do it.
individually had to sign it.
when I was on other boards, we did all have to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then where do we?
That's why it's shall and not.
Yeah, it's just a funny thing. I just wonder whether or not, like, are we supposed to turn it into them?
I think I think if I recall that conversation correctly, we just have to notify them that we have adopted our own and we get to share our copy with them.
And then who gets to keep the slide?
Sam does in our file. And to put in.
This will also become a part of the trustee orientation. Well, does every new trustee will need to sign that?
However, I believe that if I understand what the select board, it's the second time they've done it, they review and revise it each time for the board that's sitting there. So I think
Every
it's
year.
technically every year we have to like, just confirm we don't need to amend it and then can sign it.
All right. I should put that on the calendar.
It's a new task case.
Yeah.
Well, I can
We
add
can
that to the
confirm that with the town
policy.
administrator, but
I can put that in the notes here. You know, under the policy notes.
Yeah. We might need to do it.
I will in the spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Okay. Are we ready to vote on this? Okay, I move to approve the Reuben Hoare Library Trustee Ethics Statement and Code of Conduct.
I say.
All in favor?
I,
Okay,
and then we were going to look at the patron, we created a patron code of conduct. And Sam did have some comments, I think.
I think I left the comments, I think we decided to leave the comments so people could see them, but it was,
Right.
we should do it to clean it up. It was mostly like, yes,
Right.
I agree, we've never done this, to get it out, so that, reserving the right to inspect all the bags and purses.
Mhm.
my other concern with this, it came up because of the firearms one. I can't remember if that's still here or not. It was, I was talking to Mark Van Buffer, because I was wondering, like, is this a town? Does the town have a bylaw against, like a bylaw against bringing weapons? It turns out no, for what it's worth. He called the police chief and let us know. What I don't want to do is get us into ourselves into legal trouble by forbidding or allowing things that are not consistent with the rest of the town.
Town bylaws, yeah.
Yeah,
That's fine.
Gone, and also it's covered under patrons should not bring personal property that considers to be hazardous.
kind of all of those things. I'm not sure whether or not we are allowed to determine that for the library, if, like, without the town determining it for all of those things.
Maybe you guys talked about this at the last meeting, so I'm coming in at a different spot in the
I didn't think
conversation.
about this.
But this is a new policy, correct?
Mhm.
So what I would love to hear from the policy committee is why, or Sam, whomever brought this up, is why did we feel like we needed this new policy? And I know that we have an existing library uses policy because we just approved it. So, and a number of these items overlap. So is this meant to replace or?
It was an accident.
It was my confusion. Kimberly
Okay.
months ago said we needed a code of conduct policy. I thought it was the patron, so we researched, we looked at, the policy committee each looked at several area libraries and pulled together this, and then when I presented to Kimberly, she's like, oh, no, we needed the trustee
Yeah.
policy.
Yeah.
So we know, we might not even need this, and that's okay, but that's where this came from. It was my confusion.
Okay, so the
I'm
fact that we
not even-
have an existing policy that
Yeah.
covers some of these things, but not all of these things to this extent, isn't this I understand this now.
Yeah.
Okay, that's helpful.
I kind of think we don't need it. But I feel badly because he did all this.
No, we didn't. Honestly, we pulled from other libraries. Like, this is most area libraries have it. So we didn't like create this from scratch. We pulled from other. So I am not offended if you say we don't need this.
I guess my question is there anything in here that we don't cover in our other policies that the next time we review those, we might want to grab?
Or can we,
Because we merged the open, I feel like this welcome to the library thing was us, and then the actual bullet points we fully took, and it was the same exactly as you say, that we had it, so we were like, why not share it, but it can be ignored, it existed, so.
We can review this and see if we feel that if there are any bullet points here that are not in the other policy, we can merge them, but
Yeah.
I think we table.
Sam, do you feel like there are things in this policy that would be useful to have, whichever, the library uses policy or this one, like, I don't think we need two, because we're gonna then have to manage two of them. And it would confuse that.
Most of this is covered in
Other policies.
policy, yeah, not using it.
Just out of, like, any policy that's coming in, are only you reviewing it, or are you sharing it with staff members to have them also review it?
I haven't, I should, you mean when you guys asked me?
Like, if this policy was potentially on the docket to be approved, would you share this with the other staff members?
It would depend on what it is. If it's, some of them, you mean before you guys
Before
actually,
we get to it.
it depends on what it is. I think some of the policies that had to do along with the children's room, I shared with that.
Okay.
This is not sure.
Yeah, one of my concerns when reading this and how some of these are phrased, so as we're just, if we end up using any of this, I just wanna state some of my concerns is, I know when we were doing a lot of the censorship and the meeting room access and all those trainings that we've been doing in light of the current state of the world here, is that I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think if a policy can't be enforced or cannot be consistently enforced, then we're opening the library up to potential lawsuits. Especially when it could be interpreted as a viewpoint discrimination situation. And some of these things, I think, walk in a line of, I understand why they're there, but I also think there could be a the other side of the coin is that someone would feel disenfranchised and want to potentially, come after the library for that.
As an
The town for that.
example, and another thought on top of that, but inspecting bags, purses, et cetera, if that becomes something that happens only to people who have
Yeah,
are
some
certain something, then
yeah.
I see that. Another part about asking at least Julie, maybe a couple other people to look at these things is whether or not, and especially with something like this, maybe there are things on here that they're like, yeah, that's a real problem, and you
Yeah.
didn't think about making that into the policy. You know, it'd be helpful just to kind of run that.
Yeah,
kind
I
of
would
thing.
love to know if there's anything on here that they feel that the current policy doesn't cover and that they would like to see added. But I do feel like most of this is covered in other policies.
For what it's worth for each, well, we used Belmont, do you remember the libraries that we used? I was Watertown and.
I looked at
There.
Stowe. And I forgot, but we looked at, not just like.
Yeah.
Choice, but like, so,
Yeah,
but again, we
Yeah.
can review our usage policy and see if there's anything from this patron policy that we need to
Yeah.
pull in, and then we can review it again.
And then, I would love to hear staff feedback if they think they can enforce it
Right,
consistently.
Like I
Because
said, I thought you said steps feedback.
Oh, that's
yeah, sorry, staff, the
Yeah.
staff have to like enforce it, so if the
Right,
staff don't
right.
feel like they can, then we need to understand why, and then also is it worth, like the other part of it, if they're inconsistently
Right,
enforcing the policy, then that actually opens us up to abuse, so on its own. And I do think there's not a town bylaw about firearms, and is there one about smoking, vaping?
I don't think so.
There is one about alcohol, so.
Yeah, there is one about, and including vaping.
There's all that smoking, because I know when we were building the library,
Yeah.
some of the construction people were smoking, and Anthony was.
Anthony was,
Yeah, okay. Interesting.
So, I mean, might be.
Yeah.
I don't know if that-
So I didn't mean to suggest that we're attached to any of them beyond the fact that at least these 6 libraries near us all said, I think we did like sort of a Venn diagram and these were all there, but it doesn't mean it needs to be here or that it isn't already here.
Yeah, cool.
Okay.
Yeah. I'd really like there not to be a
How
lot.
much of our library materials are being stolen? Not, okay.
and it could, yeah, I mean, some of this might not be relevant to our library.
Yeah,
But thank you, like,
no, I
you
mean,
did
it's
a lot of work.
interesting, I like, it was really
do the
interesting to
research.
read
Like,
this.
it is, yeah. I was like, I never.
I have no doubt that there are libraries having to deal with this on a much
Oh, yeah.
regular basis.
Okay, so it sounds like we're not gonna, we're not gonna make any kind of vote on this today.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Sam, early closing on New Year's Eve.
Yes, so I forgot to ask last time, when we decided to close at 2 for Christmas to mention New Year's Eve. In the past, that's a Wednesday, so we normally close at 8, we posted a code at 5 on New Year's Eve.
Any concerns about that? What's the town doing?
No,
I've
I've also asked the town, what's his name, Jim, about Hanukkah key.
That's fine.
I asked Jim about whether or not the town hall was gonna close, and he said that he would talk to the select board. Normally he makes the announcement at department head meetings. Our next one is Monday. So hopefully Monday he'll let me know one way or another, but he hasn't said whether or not they're closing.
Okay, and have we done this before on New Year's Eve?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. All right, does anyone have any concerns about that?
So we would move to
Close at
close the library at 5 PM on New Year's Eve.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good. Other business? Anyone have any other business? Okay, trustee updates. Anyone have anything to share?
Oh, I have sponges. Just here, the library ones. They're all like,
Chris and Steph and I are gonna meet, as the newly appointed Ray Grande scholarship committee in early January, and we'll, we're gonna, a rubric, thank you, my God, words today, rubric, plan for that.
Forgot. holiday cards. Do you guys?
Oh, yeah.
Thank
Thank
you. I'm
you.
gonna ask about that.
Thanks, Sam.
I thought about it earlier today.
I'm glad you remembered. Would anyone want to take on that?
I could do that. Do we have cards? Is that
Yes, so I think-
Yeah, cards.
We usually, which one do you have done?
Ticketmaster.
We should just get card.
Just getting cards, right? Okay.
How many staff do you have now?
60,
60?
but it's 15 because Carla won't be starting to there, so.
Could you send us a list of the current staff?
There's a on the website on staff
Nice,
has that list.
love it.
Up to date?
Yeah.
Great.
Who's on the scholarship committee again? Kimberly?
Chris. Staff.
And I have one other item. My Girl Scout troop has been organizing this nice trees for the library, the auction. They took it over actually from a troop who had done it before, but I think this is year 14 that it's been run. So these trees decorated in a theme of a book, a picture book, a children's book usually, and the proceeds from the auction go to the children's room. So that's great. Can help us advertise it, but it looks like there's at least one bid on every tree right now.
Have you ever seen art in bloom? It's unrelated, but at the MFA and other places they have art.
Yeah, what's
It reminds me of that.
So I know the original troop who came up with this idea was at the Concord, is it the museum there?
It was a great one.
Yeah, so they wanted to do their own tree for that one, but they were not allowed to. So they worked with Diane years ago to like start it for the old children's room, and it's continued here. So they graduated and my troop took it on. So they will give it away to somebody else later. But it's continued, 14 years of Girl Scouts leading this. So most of them, Chris Faulkner has a couple special creations out there, but the rest of them I think are Girl Scout troops, if I remember correctly.
I shopped at the Friends table at the Holiday Bazaar.
You get a draft?
Yeah, I
No
did.
drafts.
No, but I was talking to Mrs. Harvey and there was a book and she said, oh, that's on my list. I hope someone will give it to me for Christmas. So I bought it and I handed it to her.
Oh.
And then I went back, that was at the beginning of the bazaar, and then we went back at the end of the bazaar because I had to take my daughter. Well, I was the money, but I got a great children's book for our friends.
That's great.
So they were really nice book selections.
There's some really beautiful handmade things there too
Yes.
this year, like some like embroidered bags and things like that. They're really cool.
Do you know if Mrs. Harvey used to be a history teacher?
Yes.
She did.
Yeah.
My kids had her, both had.
In Winchester? Where is it?
No. Here.
Here.
Oh, then she was, but I had a history teacher, Susan Harvey.
Oh.
But it's not here.
Yeah, she's
Hmm.
here. Around
Maybe
the
she
time-
was back.
Maybe it's like the 90s.
Oh, I don't think so. She had a different career first.
Oh, right. That's right. All right. Welcome to adjourn.
A motion to adjourn.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.